like the sky, your spirit one with me. Your wings span the mighty ocean. Your eyes see everything. The sliders of your motions can confidence with. Yet in all your mighty glory, from the skies, just another story. It's the man-made line. Think of how it fell from the sky.
All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host. I am Clay Douglas. My guest today, we're supposed to be Alfred Lambremont Webre, but he contacted me last night and couldn't make it, but for whatever reason, wants to reschedule for January. And I did get a little bit of some of his information, and you've got the link to that if you want to know more about the extraterrestrials and protecting Earth from solar storms due to the second sun. All of that's on here, but right now I want to talk about Gaza, because what's happening in Gaza, there are children being killed. They are in some of the most horrible ways that you can imagine. White phosphorus burns at 1,500 degrees, and this is what is killing and maiming many of the inhabitants of Gaza. Imagine that they closed off Brooklyn and started bombing it. This is what's happened. They have a few of their operatives that shot some bottle rockets over into basically nothing more than a bottle rocket and shot that into uninhabited and unpopulated areas of Gaza, and they came out. Now, there was a conference. I said, and let me allow a correction. Let me make a correction. Benjamin Netanyahu did not say he was maximizing casualties. He tried to blame that on the others in that, and on Hamas, which was an organization created by Israel to oppose him. They always fund both sides, and they've done that. And since my guest wasn't able to come on today, I want to bring him up and let him tell you what's going on in Gaza. And hopefully...
Hello. This is the news live for November 16th, 2012 with Alfred Lambremont Webre. The News Live with Alfred Lambremont Webre is streamed live every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and 1 a.m. GMT at youtube.com/exopoliticstv. Each live broadcast is accessible immediately afterward on archive at Exopolitics TV. Free transcripts are now available of the news live in English, Spanish, and German at exopolitics.com, and in the video description of a week after the program. Please feel free to circulate these transcripts to friends and networks. The News Live now has a viral life of its own. The News Live reports the news that the mainstream news is designed to hide. Let me repeat that. The News Live reports the news that the mainstream news is designed to hide. What is our headline this week? The News Live for November 16, 2012. Our headline is Israel Gaza, a false flag war by a false flag state. Israel Gaza, a false flag war by a false flag state. Let's take significant points in the timeline of the recent outbreak, the largest major outbreak in fighting between Israel and Gaza in a number of years. On Monday, November 12, 2012, Palestinian militant factions agreed to a truce if Israel would end its attacks. On Wednesday, November 14th, 2 days after the Palestinian factions in Gaza agreed to a truce, following several days of violence, Israel assassinates the moderate, let me say again, moderate, and that's a descriptor by Democracy Now!, which is a relatively mainstream media outlet. The moderate leader of Hamas military wing, Ahmed Jabari, threatening to escalate the violence once again a week after, in which at least 6 Palestinian civilians are killed and dozens or more wounded in Israeli attacks. And as of this broadcast on Friday, November 16th at 6:03 p.m. Pacific, Israeli tank units and 75,000 reservists have been called up in a apparent potential repetition of Operation Cast Lead. We'll get to all of the reasons for this in the background later on in the broadcast. This again is a repetition of a long series of provoked provocations and intentional escalations by Israel going back to 1948. The most recent was on March 9th, 2012. Israel violated an Egyptian brokered ceasefire and assassinated the head of a Gaza-based Popular Resistance Committee, sparking another round of violence in which at least 24 Palestinians are killed, including at least 4 civilians and scores more wounded. As usual, Israel claims it is acting in self-defense against an imminent attack by the Popular Resistance Committee, but provided no evidence, and even Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper, in lengthy articles, disputed the Israeli government's position.
And you think what I've tried to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is that what is happening in Iraq, what is happening in Gaza, is happening here too. There have been many documentaries put out with the fact that we have murdered more people, up to 1 billion people, in this past century, in the past 100 years. And let's take that back to about let's take it back exactly 100 years. Let's take it back exactly 100 years and understand that the USS Titanic, just a couple of little facts for you here. The U.S. Titanic was not the Titanic. It didn't sink in the middle of the ocean. It was replaced and switched out, and the name changed of the identical sister ship, Olympus, which back in the latter part of the 1800s was damaged so severely by a collision with a warship that they needed another 9/11 false flag operation, another case of Jewish lightning here, this time by Morgan and the Rothschilds, and they killed 2 birds with 1 stone, just like they stole the gold from under the World Trade Center buildings and building number 7. They stole the gold there, and then they blew it up and collected the insurance. Well, the same thing happened with the Olympic, or the Titanic. And They hushed it up, and at the same time they wiped out all of the opposition, all of the money that could have been used to oppose this new organization, this global organization, the League of Nations, and they formed the Federal Reserve here. After they eliminated all of the competition, they had the only source of the money, they had the only source of the gold, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the Rockefellers, the Jacob Schiffs, and they launched a coup on America, and they took it over. And 9/11 was the same thing. And what's happening in Gaza right now, why this is so important, is because this is what happened to the Christians in Russia. This is what happened to the Christians there, and and they killed 60 to 100 million. Many of them we don't even know about because they're buried in their own fields. This is what is happening in America now. Now, Clay's anti-Semitic, he's trying to blame it all on the Jews. Well, let's hear it from a Jew here. How about that? How about we hear from
Israel's shop-worn mantra, how about its right to defend itself? It's the same old Orwellian doublespeak thrown in our faces 24/7 as Israel ignites Gaza into a funeral pyre of burned corpses of Palestinian children, women, and men. It's not only the Jewish-owned press touting the big lie, Israel's right of self-defense, but the masses boy in the White House, who has been vomiting out the same old line of Zionist propaganda. Tell me, please, how are some homemade rockets, either shot down by Israel's Iron Dome or falling on cement curbs in the suburbs of Tel Aviv, an excuse for Israel to go on another high-tech death spree on a civilian population in Gaza? How can a batch of do-it-yourself, crude, primitive rockets pose any kind of threat to the world's third-ranking thermonuclear power?
Here's Israel alongside the Mediterranean Ocean. It's about the size of New Jersey, 7.5 million people, 75% Jewish. The economy is good, unemployment below 7% right now. Gaza, by comparison, quite small. Geographically, only twice as big as Washington, D.C. It is predominantly Palestinian. The unemployment rate is very high there, and the economy is quite bad. GlobalFirepower.com has called Israel the 10th most powerful military in the world. So let's break that down here. You have compulsory military service, which means that every young person must go into the military for a while. So they have 176,000 active troops, 500,000 they can call it from the reserves if need be. Ground forces, very strong, about 3,000 tanks. If you count all the mortars, artillery units, and armored personnel carriers, you get up to about 12,000 units on the ground that they can call up. And of course, their military is very formidable. About 800 aircraft, including some 200 helicopters. That's what they largely use to pound away at their perceived enemies over in Gaza. Now, if you look at the forces that Hamas has, very, very different picture. If you take almost everybody under uniform there officially, you get about 12,500 troops, and of course, nothing like the weapons that they have over here. But Palestinian militants do have a lot of rockets. You hear about them all the time, and that's what's making the news. Let me bring in a model of one here, life-size actually. This is a Qassam 2 rocket. These are popular because they're cheap and easy to make out of steel tubes. They only weigh about 70 to 100 pounds, and they're fueled essentially by fertilizer, ammonium nitrate, and they can pack quite a punch. They're not very accurate.
Just how are these unguided rockets fueled by fertilizer? Some probably false flag rockets fired by Jews at themselves. Justification for this latest American taxpayer-paid genocide of Palestinians. The Jews stole their land, bombed their homes, take their water, ruin their skies, kill their children, close their borders on land and sea, herd them into an open-air concentration camp, and rain living hell down upon them. And Israel is the good guy? Noam Chomsky got it right. With Israel dropping white phosphorus bombs on an occupied population that has no air force, no standing army, no tanks or armor, no central command, this isn't war. It's murder. AIPAC is dancing with glee today. and its brilliant shells on Capitol Hill are dancing the horror to the tune of Jewish Hava Nagila, which means, let us rejoice. But there's no rejoicing in Gaza City today, my friends. Instead, there are funeral marches, father's anguish, and mother's grief. Let me go one step further than Chomsky. Yes, the ravaging of Gaza by the Israelis is not war, it's murder. But even more, it's the continuation of what supremacist Judaism offers the world, the annihilation of life itself. Divine life came to Jewry 2,000 years ago in the person of Jesus Christ, God incarnate, and the Jews sentenced that life, that divine life, to death. By wicked hands you crucified him, St. Peter reproached the Jews on the day of Pentecost. The entire world is once again being shown in dripping blood and shattered, broken bodies what the hands of the chosen lust to do. And while the masses boy in the White House is flying off to Burma, the Jews in their wonderful little democracy are executing another death sentence, once again.
Yeah, once again. And you probably want to believe that, oh, this is just not
Innocent
true.
lives in occupied Gaza. Yes, while Obama is halfway around the world, fiddling in some fourth-rate dictatorship, the Jews are rushing headlong into hell and dragging the Western world and all of humanity down with them.
That's right. Brother Nathanel, a reborn Jew, a converted Jew, not since that again, like Aaron Russo, like so many others, I tried to tell you the truth about what's happening. Now, a lot of people here, some people from the Breakfast Club, from the Truth Seekers meeting, have said that they would like to reach out to the Jews. And there are Jews out there that oppose Zionism. But the whole Jewish religion, and these people have been indoctrinated for thousands of years by the money changers, by their superiors, by the people that are leading them, and they are telling you, what the truth is. They are telling you the truth. And I've been telling you the truth. And I've been demonized by this, for this. But I've told you it's happening here. I've told you that Gaza and Iraq and even Afghanistan is a dry run for what they intend to do here. They intend to demonize us. And here's this story from East Cleveland, Ohio. Another repeat of the sovereign attack where it killed a man and his son. In this case, 2 unarmed suspects were slain by police after a 25-minute pursuit. At the end of the chase, which may have included up to 50 police vehicles, 13 officers drew their weapons and unloaded at least 137 rounds into the suspect's Chevy Malibu, and no weapons were found. There was no evidence of return fire. The police were so violent and reckless, they even shot at their own cruisers with friendly fire.
Suspects killed, and right now, East Cleveland police are giving an update on that investigation. Of course, we'll bring you that information as soon as we get it. News Channel 5 viewers had a front row seat to the action as one of our photographers was on a ride-along with police when the first call came in. He shot exclusive video of the chase as it happened. News Channel 5 Paul Kripke continues our live stream coverage now from the Cuyahoga County Justice Center in downtown Cleveland. And Paul, I know you just got off the phone with East Cleveland Police Chief. What did he say? Chris, I'm going to have to back into the story with that breaking news because this is quite a complicated story. I just talked with Chief Spons from the East Cleveland Police Department. Here's what he told me. The man and woman who were killed inside that car in East Cleveland by Cleveland police officers, the medical examiner just went through that car and found no gun. Again, the medical examiner found no gun in the suspect's vehicle. Originally, police thought the two people that were killed in the deadly use of force by Cleveland police officers were both men. Turns out they were actually a man and a woman. So here's what happened. 10:30 last night, a Cleveland police officer believes he hears and sees someone in a car here outside 205 St. Clair Avenue fire a gunshot into the air. Well, that's right across the street of police headquarters. That leads to a big police chase that ends up in East Cleveland. The chase ends in the parking lot of a middle school there, Heritage Middle School. 28 police officers involved. Cleveland police officers unload their guns into that suspect's vehicle, killing both the man and the woman inside that vehicle. East Cleveland Detective Sergeant Scott Gardner was asked, was this a shootout? Was this an exchange of gunfire? Listen to what he said.
And when terms do we know if there was an exchange of gunfire?
There's no evidence to support that at this point.
Yeah. So, no gunfire, 137 bullets into a man and a woman. And you think it can't happen here? It is happening here. Now, when on my show the other day, I talked about this press conference with Hillary Clinton and Benjamin Netanyahu. And Benjamin Netanyahu was saying they want to maximize damage. That was not true. Here's how it came down. And you'll see how somebody altered it. So Netanyahu was talking about himself instead of the terrorists. Listen.
I want to thank President Obama and you and the American government and people for the strong support for Israel in this hour of need. I want to also thank you especially for the support of Iron Dome that's been saving lives. And we are in a battle to save lives. One of the things that we're doing is trying to resist and counter a terrorist barrage which is aimed directly at our civilians, and doing so by minimizing civilian casualties, whereas the terrorist enemies of Israel are doing everything in their power to maximize the number of civilian casualties.
Now what they did is just switch around, so he said we are doing the best to maximize casualties. In the film that I played and that I put up, and some of that's been pulled down, but the truth is bad enough, folks. We don't need to be fabricating and doing what they did with 9/11, flying the planes into the building. Come on, we don't need to do that. And I'm going to bring Dr. Jake Wade up later. I'll bring Dr. Jake Wade up to talk about how we can fight this kind of evil that we see. They're using white phosphorus on the children. Now, up on my Facebook page, if you go to my Facebook, Free American 69, that's also my YouTube channel, Free American 69. If you look at that and look at some of the videos, you can see what they said at the UN, what the representative for the Palestinians said at the UN. It's all up on my website. And this particular thing, they could have done the same thing. Here's a possibility. Here's the possibility. He might have said the same thing. He might have, maybe the first one was true, and they've taken it, and the people at CNN or wherever, and you see the Israeli flag displayed right side by side with the U.S. flag. These are a country created by terrorists. Let's listen to the finish of this.
Country and total a wanton attack on its civilians. Now, if there's a possibility of achieving a long-term solution to this problem through diplomatic means, we prefer that. But if not, I'm sure you understand that Israel will have to take whatever action is necessary to defend its people. This is something that I don't have to explain to Americans. I know that President Obama, you, and the American people understand that perfectly well. And I thank you once again for your support. Welcome to Bruce.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. I look forward to a productive discussion this evening at such a critical moment for Israel and the region. President Obama asked me to come to Israel with a very clear message. America's commitment to Israel's security is rock solid and unwavering. That is why we believe it is essential to de-escalate the situation in Gaza. The rocket attacks from terrorist organizations inside Gaza on Israeli cities and towns must end, and a broader time restored. The goal must be a durable outcome that promotes regional stability and advances the security and legitimate aspirations of Israelis and Palestinians alike. President Obama has emphasized these same points in his multiple conversations with President Morsi of Egypt, and we appreciate President Morsi's personal leadership and Egypt's efforts thus far. As a regional leader and neighbor, Egypt has the opportunity and responsibility to continue playing a crucial and constructive role in this process. I will forward this message to Cairo tomorrow, and we will also be consulting with President Abbas in Ramallah. Let me now...
All right, that's enough. That's all I can stand of Hillary Clinton at this point in time. But let's see. There are other things. Here's a CIA agent talking about FEMA, and we know Chuck Norris has talked about the concentration camps up there following the hurricane. I don't agree with the conclusions they get.
FEMA death camps and the red and blue list on the martial law. While I have no doubt that the NWO creators at the CIA have their own list of people to round up and terminate, the actual proper agency behind the now infamous red-blue lists is none other than FEMA Black OPS. FEMA is not here to primarily help you. Under a full state of martial law, FEMA is here to send you to their detention camps to sort out who shall live and who shall die. Those unfortunates whose names are found among the millions of fellow Americans in FEMA Red Blue lists will never come out of the FEMA camps alive, although they may have to go through hell before they are finally terminated. Such offenders are essentially the resistors of the New World Order, as my CIA and military insiders told me personally. Oh, all of us in the CIA know all about the concentration camps in America and their purpose. We all know that their purpose is to terminate resistors of the New World Order under martial law. Source Michael Mahoney, 20 years Naval Intelligence CIA under Bush Sr. For example, the FEMA death camp of the Mojave is a full-gas and cremating death camp, dedicated to the termination of all on FEMA's red-blue list under martial law. I have previously documented this horrific death camp, and documented the eyewitness accounts of several former NWO supporters who were flown out there. My friends, Doc Marquis, Illuminati, and Elaine Nost, CIA Luciferian, formerly high-level Illuminati Luciferians, but now are supposed Christians for many years, were both flown separately to this facility in the Mojave Desert of California. It boasts a landing strip. According to another contact, a D agent who personally investigated this FEMA facility, it was recently doubled in size to increase killing capacity. It is fully staffed. All staff members wear black SWAT team uniforms. When I asked Doc Marquis what his sentiments were, back when he was a member of the Illuminati and given a tour of this killing facility, his reply was, "Sheer joy. I rejoiced at the thought of Christians being terminated in this place." A chilling response, but typical of this nation's Satanists and NWO supporters. This FEMA death camp was shown off as something the NWO and FEMA was literally proud of.
Alright. Yep, that's the way it's happening now. And let's see what else we got here. Okay. We're going to Yeah, I'm going to keep that one going. That one's working. All right. Let's see what else we can do here. And now I want to alright, just bring up alright. Where's that one not working? Okay, that one ain't working. Why not? Let's see if this one will work.
Hello?
Good morning, Dr. Jake Wade. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good now that I got your microphones turned on. Yeah, Jake, I was just, first of all, let me tell you, I really enjoyed the trip to the black church, predominantly a black church down there just south of Austin. I was a little disappointed that you didn't get to speak there, but the preacher there did a heck of a job, I would say. He was really entertaining and really forceful, and I think he got his message out. And today I've been talking about the what's going on in Gaza. We've got Israel bombing Gaza, shooting children, using white phosphorus, committing war crimes, and I played clips from both a converted Jew, Brother Nathanel, and Alfred there, that Weber, that talked about what's going on in Gaza. And at the same time, right at the end of the show here, I pointed out that the same thing is happening here in the United States. They've got drones out here watching people, and they just shot 137 bullets into the car driven by a couple that was speeding or something. They launched into this chase. They were not armed. There was no weapons on them, and they shot them 137 times. So it is happening here. I've also pointed out in other shows previously that we are basically we have, and it's the theme that I've told you before, mentioned before, that I felt like maybe we were in Armageddon for the last 100 years, since more people have been murdered by their own governments and killed in wars than at any other point in history combined. More people in the 20th century murdered by their own governments or by their own by armies in wars, and the death toll being more than any the last 100,000 years in the world. And my question is, it is evil. This is evil as can be. What is happening? The war is not good for no one. And the evil that's being... How do we fight that without becoming evil? Now, you know, we're being poisoned. The chemtrails, I mean, the death toll ain't apparent because our media is not honest. They are covering for the pharmaceutical companies. They are covering for everything here. And they don't want you to know how many people are dying, how many people die in nursing homes, how many people die of prescription medications, and how many people didn't die from smoking pot. Jake Wade, pastor of the Way Church, dean of Timothy Bible College, and I believe that you are playing a role here, playing a part in a global scenario here that is most important, because if we can't educate people properly rather than indoctrinate people, we're in a lot of trouble. And everything that's been on for 200 years, since the Germans discovered the protocols of the Elders of Zion to the Communist Manifesto, every plank on the Communist Manifesto is intact right now. And in my book, Mystery Babylon, I talk about the fact that 2,000 years ago they told us about the mark of the beast. Now they got commercials for it on television, and that's in April of 2013. That whole Obama health plan goes into effect, and you will be required to have that chip in your hand if you want your Social Security, if you want your income tax, if you want anything from the controlled government, you're going to get that. And the Bible tells us not to. How do we fight evil? How do we oppose evil? I'm sorry you didn't get to speak and preach at the Sunday, but they have told me that they will have you back there for this, and we're invited there anytime. Kind of strange, folks. We were there. Half a dozen of the truth seekers were there for at the invitation of Dr. Wade to support Dr. Wade, and we were welcomed. We were there. Oh, here's Clay Douglas, that racist that they talk about in the NAACP website, in a black church, being real comfortable, having a good time, really enjoying the music and enjoying what the pastor had to say. You got the floor, Jake Wade.
It's a poignant question, and one that I think on a lot of folks' minds is that, and I warn all the time, you know, I've talked to you about it, we have to resist becoming those who we claim offend us, those who are the perpetrators of the Babylon ideology that we really fight against, because we do not want to be in Babylon. But as you said, this country has become so. And I think under the radar, we got so complacent because at one time we were considered, mostly by ourselves, to be the most powerful nation in the world, the most Christian nation in the world. And I think we allowed ourselves to be duped into a position that allowed for apathy and complacency, which, though unwarranted, we fell into, and it's dangerous because the attitude that carries with it is one that are, to use a bad expression, are cuckoo instinct. We can get by with doing whatever we want to. We're the best nation out there. I think that has gotten us to a place where we don't know as a nation how to vote anymore. We don't know how to hang on to our rights that are being eroded as we speak. And the invasion is by what will probably end up being the UN itself. Is not the UN, the United Nations, isn't our problem. It's the driving force, as it says in Ephesians chapter 6. The principalities are what we're warring against, not the, and I hope I don't get in trouble with this too far, but the stupid people that are bowing to a master, an ideology that they're unaware of evil. I don't think most people realize they're bowing to an evil master, and to fight that without becoming like them, we must maintain a posture of not being them, not becoming the complainer, not becoming the one who's trying to scream the loudest, but be, as you say, we've been dumbed down. Let's not be dumbed down anymore. Let's get smarter than they are. Let's use our intellect and God's set up to allow not only our intellect to fight the battles that we have to fight, even on their terms, but on their terms that are naked. And you and I have looked at this and know it can be done that way. That those who bow to these entities are generally unaware that they are bowing to evil. So to answer your question, and I've rambled a little, I guess, but the trick is, or the approach is, that we cannot allow ourselves. We need to keep reminding ourselves not to be them, not to become like them, and try to pick up a bigger gun, try to yell louder, but to intellectually, because we're smarter, because we are better prepared. And Mott's always presenting that as truth statements. Let us be prepared. And the preparedness has to be that we are smarter, that we have not bowed into the let's borrow whatever we want to and pay tomorrow idea that is controlling our economy. If we don't owe anybody anything, and we have our own source of electrical and various kinds of power to go on, our own water, as you said, the Liberty Village energy approach, we have a power that is very difficult to overtake. We can be effective on that basis, I believe.
The problem is uniting people. People have asked me, Jake, Clay, why do you hate the Jews? And my response is, I don't hate the Jews. I hate evil, as God told us we were supposed to hate evil. We were supposed to and Jesus warned us through John about the Jews that say they're Jews but are not, are of the synagogue of Satan. Now, I think these people of the synagogue of Satan is in control. This is the beast, the eighth beast of Babylon, just come back, as the Bible predicted so well. I mean, for 2,000 years, the Bible warned us about the mark of the beast, and only with the turn into the 21st century did it become scientifically possible to do that, and they've got the schedule for that on the 13th of April. 13th of April, 2013. We go into this health care plan, and we won't be able to buy or sell without it. That's what they've been setting us up for all along. So the Bible is accurate, but it says we got to resist. And to me, the only way that we can resist without becoming as evil as these people are, and that's the problem I have with the whole Christian identity thing, is they're trying to tell you that they that us white folks are the chosen race, and I have to agree to a certain point because we are the most productive, and we have done as I put it out. We've the foundation of every civilization is the self-sufficient family farm. And that's what we've always done. That's the way we settled this whole country, was on these individual family farms that could stand on their own in the middle of a wilderness. And
well, you know, as a political scientist, sir,
yes, sir.
You know, and by historical account, that the only reason in a representative government or republic kind of government that we sent anybody to Washington or anywhere else to represent us was that we were too busy on the farm, too busy in our little local community doing our business to attend a meeting to have some, you know, to get a standing army available, or to maybe agree that the group as a whole, all the collective little villages together, might need something. And then we gave the government we set up permission to manage that, only that little specific area, and by our representative presentation and control. And somehow or another, because of greed, and again, you know, bankers usually take the lead, and once you start borrowing, you have bowed to their mastership, and now they are in control.
They told us that in the Bible too. You know, the borrower is a slave to the lender. Did I get that right? Did I get that right? I mean, come on, folks. You know, now one of the things I want to touch on here, because I had the expert on that online right here talking to him, is that the mainstream churches, Baptist, Catholic, it doesn't matter, they sold us out. And Jesus warned us that people would come in His name and take advantage of you. Didn't He do that too?
Absolutely.
These
under the guise of a book, he called them wolves.
the mainstream churches that are sending money to a criminal state of Israel. This is a safe haven. This is you've heard of a safe house, folks. You've heard of it. This is a safe country for crooks like Mark Rich and Jonathan Pollard. They're still trying to get him out. You know, fortunately, 50 years ago or more, back in the 40s, they did execute some of the Jewish spies, but they got back and they started the United Nations, and they attacked Rwanda, they attacked South Africa, by calling us white folks racist, and that's what they tried to do to me. Now, I was just me and Dr. Jake Wade were together. I was a deacon sitting on the front row with a bunch of black deacons listening to a black pastor, and you know what, Jake? I didn't feel uncomfortable. I didn't feel out of place, and I felt more of God in that black church than I've ever felt in one of the big, fancy cathedral-type churches that they're collecting your money and sending it to the Jews that say they're Jews, but are of the synagogue of Satan. I mean, come on. Am I being radical? Am I being off the wall here? I mean, we've got deluded Christians.
You know I'm going to be biblical, right?
Of course.
Let me give your listeners, and I'm sure you have some, but let me give them Bible, and they're not going to like this because the present day religiosity, the big organized churches with the names on the front, do send a lot of money to foreign countries, and that's all well and good if they get the process right. In Acts chapter 1, Jesus said, "You take care of home first." Timothy was told by Paul, if you don't take care of your own family, you're worse than an infidel. So it's family first, your family, your church family first, your own community, like you said, Liberty Village, your own little village next. Then the wider community, it's like a pebble in a lake. Once you throw it in there, it ripples out. once we've taken care of home base, then we can start looking abroad to help somebody in need, but not politically. We have used these things as political tools, as a political faction in the world, and as a church. They call it church, but as a church faction, you know, some guy sits there and he's got a lot of money and he writes a check to $10 too, or he goes to what they call missions work. He didn't have to go get any money. He hasn't had to go help the guy in the gutter, the rummy, the guy on drugs, the guy that, you know, all those people that Jesus helped. He didn't have to get any of that on him. He just sends a check and he feels good. He goes home, I've taken care of somebody who's poorer than I am and underprivileged, and they're in another country, so you have to look at them. If you're going to help according to Acts chapter 1, it's in your own backyard, and some of your own relatives or your own friends are going to be the ugly for a while, and rather than avoid them, we have to not judge them and say, these are the people I'm supposed to take care of.
We've got more veterans from Vietnam. Vietnam vets have killed themselves back here in this country than were killed over in Vietnam. We've got the old folks and the people in the hospitals are demonized. We do need to turn our attention here. There's 190 some odd countries in the world, and we send foreign aid, including billions to Israel, who takes the most foreign aid, the most defense dollars. They're taking your money and they're sending it to all these poor countries, and we're sending it to only the countries that are communist. We
can't operate in a bubble. That's unreasonable. But we were the most powerful nation, or at least it appeared so, when we were isolationists, when we literally, by design, feed on other people's business and other people's politics.
The churches have been dumbing us down.
Amen. Amen. And that's what, one of our founding fathers said, that you cannot really enslave a well-educated and armed people. Well, they have dumbed us down, and now they're after the guns. So, we're slaves, but we're, to finish the process, they've got to get the guns.
That's their biggest danger, and, but what they're doing to us, folks, they've done to me. Now, my book, Mystery Babylon, will document this and tell you right step by step how they did it, what they were doing. But
Let me recommend something to your folks.
Okay.
Get Mystery Babylon. It is a wonderful, professionally done historical account of what we talk about. Bankers' control, the Rothschild thing, the whole 9 yards. A wonderful, accurate, well-researched history of what's going on. And you can back this stuff up in the encyclopedia. It's just that Mr. Douglas has put it together where it's comprehensive and it is palatable. And I would suggest get my book, or I'll say your first name, Israel's book. Mine's called Sold Out. Hers is Coming Down of America, I think. But when you put those with Douglas's Mystery Babylon, you get a pretty big picture of what has been done to us and why.
They call one of the rabbis, Rabbi Weiss, I believe, said some call it, and this is back in the 30s, some call it communism, I call it Judaism for the masses. And, we have been led to believe by the churches that the Jews are and this is all based loosely around the Schofield Bible that the Jews paid Schofield a lot of money to write. And most Americans think, well, Israel's got a right to defend itself. Well, all those Palestinians attacking them, well, if they made all of us white Christians here in Texas into criminals, and they bombed us and they took our land and they ran our grandparents off of our land, I think we'd be a little bit hostile too, and we would be fighting back, and they are. The Palestinians are trying to resist. They are trying to keep and protect their families, and they've made a lot of progress, even in the UN, which is a communist-created, controlled organization that went after Rhodesia when they even had a constitution based on ours, and they went after them, and they took it and they turned it into Zimbabwe and gave it to some colored butcher.
People need to go on the internet or somewhere and download it in between the UN's aim at literally eradicating people like you and me and small real church and groups like that meet to do the truth. They have us scheduled to be ethnically removed from the planet.
They are, and this is war crime. What is going on in Gaza, what has happened to the Palestinians over the last 50 years is war crimes. It's a war crime. And much more so than anything the Germans did. The Germans were pretty humane, not like the Jewish-controlled Soviet Union, where they murdered German prisoners and American prisoners and shot down airliners.
Didn't you say that we're supposed to try to fight evil without becoming evil?
Yes, sir.
When you're nuking your neighbor, that is not biblical. That is not according to the plan.
Now repeat that, please. Repeat that, please. What about our neighbors?
Look, our neighbors, when they start sending rockets and shooting each other and claiming because you don't politically agree with me, I'm going to take you out. That is not a biblical approach.
No, it's not. And they keep in mind, folks, that in that tiny country of Palestine, the Muslims and the Christians live together, work together, babysat each other's kids, the same way the Mexicans and the blacks have fit into our society for the last 100 years. The blacks, they wanted to raise the blacks against us the same way that they drove the Jews out of the penal settlement in Russia and over across Russia. They tried to do the same thing, and the blacks wouldn't go for it. No, man, that was my nanny, man. No, the whites didn't go for it. We aren't going to fight each other. It's kind of like I told that big black football player up in the penthouse in Miami. We were at a party, and he came up and said, "How do you feel about us black folks?" And I looked at him in the eye and slapped him on the muscular shoulder, and I said, "Bud, I got to be real straight with you. I don't like niggers, white or black."
Amen.
And I was in a church with a bunch of black folks yesterday, and I didn't see one nigger in the bunch. I didn't meet one nigger in the bunch because they were all really good Christians working at being a Christian. And it doesn't matter whether you're black or you're white or you're pink or you're purple, God doesn't care.
Amen.
God doesn't care, and He's in all of our hearts. But for an accident of birth, we could be there in Central America. We could be in Uganda. We could be there. And folks, that's what I've been trying to tell you. I'm not a racist. I don't care what religion you are. You want to bang your head against that wall, knock yourself out, You want to get down on your hands and knees and stick your nose in the dirt, your ass up in the air. I'll try to keep the dogs off of you. And if you're a Christian and you want to pray for Israel or you want to pray to God for a Cadillac, I'll talk with Jake. We'll try to put in a good word for you so God don't drop it on top of it.
Amen.
And the Liberty Village concept, I'm going to renew that today. I'm going to put the Liberty Village website back up. because we've got new methods of transportation, we've got new methods of energy. We have the 21st century could mark the end of the banksters. You want to go by the Mayan calendar? I think December 21st ought to be the day we foreclose on the Federal Reserve, kick the International Monetary Fund out, repossess the UN building, take it back away. You know, Rothschilds gave it to them, we can take it away. And folks, there's nothing wrong with the UN if it wasn't set up to be communist controlled. If it was based on our Bill of Rights and our Constitution, loosely based on our Constitution, I would have to go along probably with the Articles of Confederation for the world, and with the Bill of Rights right at the top of the page, then I'd be all for the UN. Now, the one thing that people I made the statement earlier, why do you hate the Jews, Clank? The answer is I don't. I almost admire them. If they were working for the good of the people, I'd be all for them. I'd be all for them because they do work together, and there is no Jew going broke here because you can't get any money because other Jews will loan him the money, the other Jews will support him, and that's what we need in America. We need to take a lesson from them. We need to take a lesson from the Jews and say, this is the way we're going to do it now. This is the way we're going to do it. We're going to take this bank out. Usury, the Bible warns us about usury. We're going to take it back. All right. Jake Wade, thank you for being with me. And the folks, if you want to step out of the system, if you want to come out of her, join the Way Church. We'll broadcast sermons to you. We'll broadcast prayer meetings to you. And enroll your children in the Little Red Schoolhouse and the Timothy Bible College. Right at the top of my site. Go to freeamerican.com. Check it out. And thanks for being with me today.
Amen. God bless.
God bless.
Call recording has been completed.